Councilmember Schurig. Here. Councilmember Williams.
Here.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
This evening, our invocation will be from Zach Langford from Surrendered Life Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for today and for the grace you've given us. Thank you for the life and breath that each one of us has received today. May we not take it for granted. We humbly ask you to forgive us for those sins and transgressions we commit each day, for causing you and others pain. Thank you for sending Jesus so that we can be reconciled to you through your forgiveness and mercy. Please grant our leaders gathered here tonight the wisdom, grace, courage, patience, understanding that they need to lead our city and to make decisions tonight and in the future. I ask you now to bless each one who is gathered here and ask all these things in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So looking at our agenda this evening, we'll have public comment on agenda items, followed by our consent agenda. Items 8A will be a presentation of our Police Department awards and recognitions. Item 8B will be our library presentation. Item 11A will be an event report on Memorial Day Parade. 11B will be the event report on the Federal Family Gathering. 12A will be the second quarter financial report. Item 12B will be the second quarter investment portfolio report. 12C will be the second quarter cash position report. And item 12D will be the Partello Road lift station rehabilitation. Followed then by public comment on non-agenda items, and council and manager communications will end before we adjourn. One correction I have to that agenda as read would be we are going to remove item 11B, which will be an event report for the Federal Family Gathering. They've asked us to remove that from the agenda this evening. Are there any other questions, concerns, additions, or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, then I would seek a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. At this time, we would ask if there's anyone in the chamber that has public comment on agenda items. Anything on the agenda this evening that you would like to discuss, you have 5 minutes in which to discuss that. You can come forward to the podium and state your name and address. Okay. Hearing none, then we'll move on to our consent agenda. Item 7A is our City Council minutes from our regular session on Monday, February 5th, 2018. 7B would be city bills in the amount of $2,779,948.62. Any other questions, concerns, additions, or deletions to the consent agenda? Not, I would seek a motion to approve the agenda as read.
So moved. Support.
And we'll do a roll call, please.
Member Karen.
Yes.
Member Costa.
Yes.
Member McNeil.
Yes.
Member Metzger.
Yes.
Mayor Reed.
Yes.
Member Schurig.
Yes.
Member Williams.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. At this time, we'll do item 8A, which will be our Police Department awards and recognitions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Going through our accreditation process, we realized we haven't kept up on our awards and recommendations for the officers for actions that they have performed above and beyond with the department. So doing that tonight, I'd like to take the opportunity to award these officers for what took place in 2017, and they're well deserved. Mr. Mayor, if you could come down and assist with Josh handing out the awards, and I can read the information if that's okay with you. First, I'd like to call up Officer Troy DeKreiger and Officer Sean Brown. Can you please come up to the front? On February 12, 2017, Officer DeKreiger and Officer Brown were dispatched to Fairway Meadows Apartments for a report of a possible drug overdose. The officers found the 37-year-old male victim was unresponsive, did not have a pulse. His face, hands, and feet were exposed, dark purple in color, and his eyes were rolled to the back of his head. He had an obstructed airway, and MPD officers positioned him, maintained an open airway while performing CPR. Marshal ambulance arrived and used Narcan on the subject. The subject was stabilized and transported to Oaklawn Hospital, where he was released after receiving treatment. Officer Krieger and Officer Brown's quick and extraordinary actions were paramount to the victim's survival. With this, we are giving each officer the life-saving award. Thank you, Jim. Josh, Dave, oh, you got to get it. I'd like to call up Officer Matt Potter. Again, when I'm reading this, it's going to sound very familiar. It is a different incident. Those that are in police work, and Brent, you might know how this works at times. Now, on February 18th, 6 days later, Officer Potter was dispatched to Fairway Meadows Apartment for a report of a possible drug overdose. Officer Potter found a 37-year-old male, was unresponsive, did not have a pulse. Dark purple in color, and his eyes were rolled back in his head. Officer Potter performed CPR until Marshal ambulance arrived and Narcan was used. The subject was found to have a pulse. He was stabilized and transported to Oaklawn Hospital, where he was released after receiving treatment. Officer Potter's quick and extraordinary actions were the key to the victim's survival. Again, Officer Potter, thank you very much, and you'll receive the life-saving award and pin. I call up Officer Lee Friend and Officer Sean Brown. On July 19th, Marshall police officer was dispatched at 629 West Mansion Street for a report of a stabbing. Officer Brown and Officer Friend arrived first on scene and assessed the injured. The officers walked into the house and observed 3 injured subjects on the floor covered in blood with multiple wounds. The 34-year-old female and the 32-year-old male victim were on the floor along with a 52-year-old male suspect. The female was unresponsive and the male victim had a deep wound to his leg and was bleeding. Officer Friend and Officer Brown secured the scene for medical first responders and assessed the patients. Officer Brown applied a tourniquet to the male victim's leg wound, while Officer Friend assessed and provided treatment to the female victim and male suspect. Marshal ambulance arrived and the subjects were quickly transported to the hospital for treatment. The female was found to have life-threatening injuries and was transferred to Kalamazoo for treatment. She was found to have a punctured lung from a stab wound. The victim's actions, or the quick actions of both Officers Brown and Officer Friend led to a quick treatment which saved her life. The male victim was transported to Oaklawn Hospital where he was treated for his wounds. The male victim stated he was told by his doctor that he would have probably bled out had not the tourniquet been applied by Officer Brown. After helping to treat the victims and the suspects, the officers continued their criminal investigation, working with the Major Crimes Task Force. The criminal case is still ongoing at the time of this report. All victims have recovered from their injuries. Congratulations, men. This time, life-saving award for Officer Lee Friend and Sean Brown. Officer Troy DeKreiger. On 9/11, Officer DeKreiger was called to assist the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office with a personal injury accident on A Drive North near 14 Mile Road in Marshall Township. Officer DeKreiger was one of the first officers on scene as they discovered the accident involving 2 vehicles. One of the vehicles was smoking and found to be on fire with a 19-year-old male trapped inside. Officer DeKreiger, with the help of Tribal Officer Todd Turner, worked quickly to extinguish the fire and render aid to the victims involved in the accident. The victims were transported and treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Officer DeKreiger's quick response and actions helped to prevent further injuries and potential of death of the trapped victim. Officer DeKreiger, congratulations on a life-saving award. He was also recognized by the Collier County Sheriff's Office for the same deeds. Officer Philpott. Over the last few years, Marshall Department identified a need for custom organizers for the back of our patrol cars. We researched these organizers and found them to be expensive with a cost of upwards of $700 a piece for all 5 vehicles. In October 2017, Officer Philpott and Officer Moore came up with some ideas for organizing equipment into patrol vehicles. It was decided that we would make an organizer internally using the limited tools we had. After some thought, Officer Philpott and Moore suggested that we partner with the Marshall High School shop class to see if they could assist us in the project. Philpott and Moore met with Mr. Stoddard of the Marshall High School and partnered with the advanced shop class to make the boxes. We provided the materials and students provided the labor. The furnished wooden organizers looked professional and fit perfectly in our vehicles. The students were able to interact with Officer Philpott and Officer Moore, who showed them the vehicles and explained how their work made our jobs easier and our community safer by providing an organized space for essential tools. Officer Philpott and Officer Moore went above and beyond their scope of work, showing initiative and creativity to take ownership over this project. For their efforts, we want to recognize them with the award of Command Recognition Merit Award, Community Involvement. Thank you. Oh, that's right. I'll talk about that. Earlier this month, the Exchange Club always recognized an officer in the county, the city, and the state police. With the election of his peers, Officer Tony Philpott was also chosen as Officer of the Year for this year as well. Thank you again. We appreciate the recognition, the hard work that the staff does. I felt remiss by not bringing these up earlier. We're trying to do this on a quarterly basis when or if they are needed, and we look forward to serving our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's kind of the least that we can do for our officers in uniform that protect us each and every day when they don't know in the morning or when they start their shift what their day is going to bring. And we love the community that we live in, and we think that we just are kind of an untouchable community, but things happen here every day and every week, and we're very grateful to you gentlemen and the entire world. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next presentation that we have is item 8B, which will be our library presentation. Angela is going to help us with that. I wondered who was protecting us tonight, so. Thank you, gentlemen.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I have a presentation for you. Mayor Reed asked me to come speak with all of you after seeing me present at the Marshall Manufacturing Association meeting. So the presentation I have is pretty business focused, but I'm kind of a general overview of library services too for Marshall District Library. And hopefully this works. Oh, good. Okay. So the Marshall District Library is tax supported by the City of Marshall and also the townships of Eckford, Fredonia, Marengo, and Marshall Township. We have a population of 14,900 people that we serve over that area, and of those, 7,200 people have library cards. And our building is now 18,000 square feet. And for those of you who have not been in the building lately, in the past couple of years, we've done some major renovations to the space. All of it was done out of reserves, donations, and grants, so we have not, asked the community for any additional funding, but that's what the library looks like now. It is my favorite place to go. It is also my favorite topic, so if I go on for way too long, let me know. Just flag me down and I'll stop. So. We have about 61,000 items for checkout available in the building, and then in addition to that, we have access to 400 libraries across the state that can bring in another 40 million items. We have 146,000 visitors last year, so every day, on average, 476 people walk into the library to use our facility for a variety of reasons. And last year, we had 145,000 items checked out, which is about an average of 10 per person in our district. So we are a very well-utilized library, and that's well above the national average of 6 books per patron in that area. So, and we've also pulled in more than 1,000 library books each month for patrons who need materials from other libraries. So last year we also had 620 programs for a variety of ages, and more than 10,000 people attended those programs. So libraries are being used in a lot of different ways now. I get asked a lot about our libraries dying because of the internet, and that is not the case at all. Or is anyone even reading anymore? And yes, many people are reading. Libraries have shifted from being a collection of just materials to being community spaces and community learning centers, and there's a variety of ways that people learn. So we try to provide a variety of options for people. So we also had 46,000 people log into our internet computers. We do have 26 computers available for public use. There are a number of people who still don't have internet access at home or don't have high-speed internet access at home, particularly in our rural areas. So we provide that access for them. And we also do one-on-one training sessions. So if you ever have something that you don't know how to do on a computer or phone or tablet, one of our staff members by appointment will sit down with you and teach you how to do it. So every single time Christmas comes around, 40 people call us and are like, how do I use this phone? My kids got this for me. I have no idea what to do with it. So that is what we provide for people. And we'll do that for any sort of resource, including we've done things like app training for businesses and things like that. So this is some information about our technology services. So we obviously do one-on-one assistance. We also do drop-in tech times twice a week. So on Mondays and Wednesdays, you can just drop in if you have a 10-minute question, and someone will sit down with you and walk you through whatever it is that you want to know. We do classes and group trainings. We'll also take group trainings on the road. So if you if an entire business wants all of the people in their employment to learn something, we can take the class to them. We do have a laptop lab that was provided by the Marshall Rotary Foundation that we can take to other locations. We also have a technology petting zoo. So if you want to experiment with different tablets and ebook readers before purchasing them, you can do that at the library. And we also recently started checking out wireless hotspots last year. So this is something where you can take to an outside location or to your home location if you don't have high-speed internet access, and the hotspot will provide unlimited access for you. They go out for a week at a time, and anyone who's over the age of 18 can reserve one and take them home for a week. We also provide access to digital versions of the Marshall newspapers from 1838 to 2011. We are currently in the process of doing 2011 through 2017, so those should be available within the next few months on the library website. You can access them from home just by logging into the Marshall newspaper link on our homepage. The password is pineapple if anyone wants to get into it. But we provide access to that, as well as multiple digital libraries, such as the Hoopla Digital Library, which has more than 500,000 items in it, including ebooks, audiobooks, videos, television series, and music albums. So, and if you want to access any of that information, you don't even have to leave your house. You can go to www.yourmdl.org to get that. We also provide access to a number of electronic resources for students who are studying or for people who just need access to information. So things like Encyclopedia Britannica online, Chilton's repair manuals. Learning Express Library provides access to practice tests like the ACT, SAT, AP exams, as well as licensed professional exams and other resources. And Ancestry Library Edition, if you want to look up census records, birth, marriage, and death records, you can do so at the library with that. For business services, we provide corporate cards. So if there is a business in the Marshall area and they have employees who are not from the Marshall area but would like to provide them with a library card, we will provide those library cards to the businesses as long as the business agrees to be responsible for them. We have meeting spaces. We do exam proctoring for students of all levels. Research assistants. We have a notary on staff, which is free. Copying, printing, and scanning. We circulate equipment. I'm obviously reading all of this to you, but we do a number of things for the community. So that's a couple of our meeting spaces. Some of them are free to check out on your library card, and some of them are rental spaces, depending on the size. We also have access to a number of business databases. I'm going to show a few screenshots of some of them, but the Mel Business Gateway is a resource that's provided by librarians through the Library of Michigan, where they've created links to governmental resources and business resources that are out there. We also have access to, this is Business Insights Global, which has all the financial information for companies that are open, that are out there, so you can get contact information. One of the great things about this database is it will give you the headquarters phone number for any company. So if you've ever tried to go on like the Target website and find a phone number, or the Coca-Cola website and find a phone number, which is impossible, that will be in this database, as well as all the financials for the previous quarters. We have Business Decision, which is a marketing and database, demographic data, as well as Demographics Now, which allows people to run lists of all of the businesses in an area, or all of the residences of an area based on specific criteria, either marketing criteria or like census records and phone records, as well as more than 450 business magazines and journals. We actually have access to more than 4,000 electronic journals, so if you ever want to check that out, call the library. We'll be happy to walk you through like all of the things, because that's what we like to do. And we're happy to sit down with people and show them how. We also provide a variety of programming. This is our most recent program for adults that I love, which was a murder mystery party, and we had 25 people show up, and it was a 1920s gangster party, and so they all got dressed up and solved a murder together. We have mahjong, book clubs, knitting, a variety of lifelong learning events. We also do court forms, tax forms, which is very important at this season. Like, we have a number of people coming in just for that. And do homebound delivery and other outreach. These are some of the recent program partners that we had. So Schuler's, Dark Horse, Paper and I, Handle and Hinge, Chemical Bank, all of these groups are willing to support the library through providing informational programming. There are a lot of people in this community who have great expertise and a great love for sharing that expertise with the community. So we've been lucky enough to have them come visit us and share that. We also, as many of you know, have our after-school crowd, which is 60 people on average every day over from the middle school. So we do programming usually 5 days a week that includes things like Zumba to get their energies, sort of corral. Lego club, trivia club, board game tournaments. Today was Cupcake Wars, so they all decorated cupcakes. It was fantastic. Theater workshops. We've worked with people like Great Escape, Paper and I, Green Scene, to help provide these activities for kids, and most of that has been grant funded by the Marshall Community Foundation. We also provide a variety of early literacy programs for different ages, starting with baby time and going up through about a kindergarten level. The one I'm most excited about is Boogie to Bedtime, which is something we're just starting now. So once a month, we're having like a big dance and music fest at night for people of all ages, but specifically aimed at little kids, and then they're going to do yoga right before they go off for bedtime. As well as 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten, where we encourage students to come in, or children to come in, and get read to by their parents. And over the course of that 5-year period, reading 1,000 books, they get different rewards of free books as they come in during that time. We also do outreach story times to 4 different daycare centers and 5 different preschools in the area. So we try to go off-site as much as we can to make sure that we're meeting people where they're at, and the library is providing services where they're needed. Some of our family events have included things like concerts. We just had Batman visit, which was fantastic. We also, in the previous picture, we had Belle and Elsa visit, which brought in like 100 small children in princess dresses, which was amazing, and their parents. And we have a variety of different activities. We do about 60 programs a month, so I gave all of you newsletters so you can kind of see what is happening there. And we also do outreach. We do tech times at Marshall House. We've gone to Maplewood. Do homebound delivery, classroom visits, local business trainings, group presentations. We do summer stories at the fountain, which we were very happy with. A lot of people gathered around the fountain for that. And last year, we revived the John Belair's Walk, which was an event in our community for a long time, from 1989 to about 2004. And we had characters that were at all of the different locations that are described in the books, and they acted out their parts in the books. And we plan on doing that this year as well in October. It was very good. We had about 120 people attend. And this is your friendly library staff. There are 21 of us, but I only got 20 of them into the screen. The other one's too new for me to have a good picture of. But we are there to help with any sort of informational question that you have, but also, again, we have a variety. If you don't know something, call the library and we'll try to find it out for you, because that's what we do. And then this is your library board. So you have George Garion from the Marshall Township, Teresa Cheney Huggett from the city of Marshall, Ben Lark from Fredonia Township, Martha Fromm from Ector Township, Mary Fountain from Marengo Township, Shelley Preston from the city of Marshall, and Kathy Maitland from the city of Marshall. So those are the people who work on governing the library and who are my bosses, who I answer to. So if you ever have any questions, they're there for everyone as well. And then that's my contact information. So if you ever need to get a hold of me or have any questions about the library and how wonderful it is, please give me a call and I will be happy to talk to you.
Thank you, Angela. Having seen this at the manufacturing luncheon, I just reminded Angela that it's great to be able to share that information with the community and with the council and stuff. There's so many wonderful things happening in the library and around the library and for a small community. It just amazes me that we have that much to offer our community. And it's not just the city, it's a lot of the townships around us. So, I kind of have to laugh, Angela, when you were talking about finding the telephone numbers for Coca-Cola and Target and stuff. I could just see the glimmer in your eye. That was kind of like you cracked the case and you found something.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's like solving a mystery every time someone calls us.
Yeah. Well, and I hear great feedback about the library and the use of the library, and I think we've got a meeting there this Thursday morning, too. So What's Brewing Marshall is going to be held there. And I had a conversation last week with our new bookstore owner, who's very excited about being able to work with the library and doing some of those things. And I mentioned to him the John Beller's walk last year and stuff, and how successful that was to bring it back, and how important that used to be to Ann LaPietra when she owned the bookstore in town. And so he was just very, very excited to be able to bring his bookstore to a community that would allow him to enhance what they're doing and vice versa. So I know that Jim is really going to be knocking on your door. I'm sure he has already. So
We already called him today to ask him to partner on something.
Perfect.
So we're super excited to have a bookstore in
Perfect.
town.
Yeah. So he's very excited to be moving his business to a community where he has that. So thank you very much.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much for
Thank you.
having me.
Okay, next item on our agenda would be item 11A, the event report on Memorial Day Parade. Jim's going to help us.
Kind of looking ahead here, this event takes place on May 28th of this year. Sponsored by the American Legion Post number 79. They alternate back and forth. What's unique about this event is because of the bridge closing on South Marshall, the parade will still line up like it always does. We want to close off Michigan Avenue right around 9:30. At 10 o'clock, they'll have a little before 10, they'll have the event in front of the Veterans Park for the memorial. They'll line up, and then we'll continue down Michigan Avenue to exchange up to Marshall, the point there, and that's where the event's going to end. A lot of them will turn off again on Green Street. We're aware of that. We do have the permit from MDOT, the city. The road closures for within the city will be there, right there on Exchange if that's approved by council. And so, and then at 11 o'clock, they'll meet back at the cemetery for the ceremonies out there.
So we are doing the event at the cemetery.
That is correct, at 11.
Got it. Okay, any questions for Jim on the event? Another big day in our community, so thank you for that report.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing on our event then would be item 12A, our second quarter financial report from John.
Evening, Council. First thing on the agenda is the second quarter financial report for the period ending 12/31 of 2017, basically comparing half a year with our revenue and expenditures. I'm happy to announce that general fund, we have 77% of our revenues, and we've only expended 51%, so we're pretty much on target. For the other funds in the report, we have 55% revenue collected and only 46% expended. So, again, like I said, the first quarter, no alarms, no bells going off. I think we're doing very, very well. If there's any huge variances, I listed that in the council report, so if you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
Any questions or comments for John? Once again, thank you to you and your team and all of our directors and stuff. It's wonderful to see how everyone takes that very seriously and is able to report these kind of numbers back to us. So we do appreciate everyone's efforts on that. If there aren't any questions for John, then the recommendation is for council to accept the report as presented. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And we'll do a voice vote, please.
I mean, voice vote.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Yeah, that would be good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Yeah, sorry. I was already going on to the next report, John. The next one is the second quarter investment portfolio report.
Again, the investment portfolio report is for the period ending December 31st, 2017, showing $505,437.92 in CDs, $2,885,750.58 in pooled cash, for a total of $3,391,188.50.
Any questions or comments for John on this investment portfolio report? Any concerns, John, with this report at all?
No, again, like I noted on the first quarter, this does not reflect the $2.5 million that we invested in the fiber fund at 2% interest. So I just want to make sure that you're aware. If you went back a year and compared and say, how come we're out $2 million? It's because of that investment in the fiber fund.
Hearing no questions or comments, then it's recommended the council would accept this report as presented.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 12C then is our second quarter cash position report.
Again, the cash and investment position report is of 12/31/2017. I won't go through the whole thing, but our total cash and investment of unrestricted cash totals is $9,881,980.
Do you have any questions or comments on this report?
Any concerns?
Not at this time.
Okay, don't say it like that. Say, never, we never
I
have.
don't want to jinx myself in the city.
Move to accept the report.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And 12D, thank you, John. 12D is going to be the Partello Road Lift Station rehabilitation. Alex, can you help us with that?
Good evening, Council. The report that I submitted for the agenda tonight outlines the Partello Road Lift Station rehabilitation. The project is going to include the removal and replacement of the pumps and part of the controls. Our project we did in 2012, we replaced the pump controls and the communications. We're going to be upgrading the electrical service at this time. The pumps that we're using are sole sourced. Unfortunately, we're not able to do a bid on those, as the Kennedy Industries is the only available supplier in the state of Michigan. But we're going to be doing a lot of the work in-house, so the amount budgeted in the budget this year for this project should be plenty of money to complete the project. As you can see, we're only using about a quarter of it for the equipment that we need, and my staff is going to be doing a lot of the work ourselves. So, the station is in good condition structurally. It's just that the pumps and controls need to be upgraded. If there's any other questions, I'll be glad to answer.
So the lift station project was budgeted in the amount of $200,000 for fiscal year 2018. So you're right, $49,885 is about 25% of that amount. Any questions or comments for Alec? I would seek a motion.
So moved. And support.
We'll do a roll call, please.
Member Costa?
Yes.
Member McNeil?
Yes.
Member Metzger?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
Member Sherring?
Yes.
Member Williams?
Yes.
Member Karen?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Come to the point on the agenda where we are accepting public comment on non-agenda items. If there was anything that wasn't discussed this evening that somebody in the chamber would like to discuss, you have 5 minutes at the podium after stating your name and address. Okay. Hearing none then, we'll move on to Council Manager Communications. Councilmember Williams.
You'll recall that a few weeks ago, I gave you really good news about our 911 budget, and there was an overall 12% reduction in what everybody was paying across the board, and I was excited, and at that point, we didn't have the detailed numbers. Jim, you might want to come up here, part of this.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. There's always an exception. As Paul Harvey said the rest of the story. Marshall, for our law enforcement calls, and it was the law enforcement that did it, which should have tipped us off. The 911 center folks said they triple-checked this. They couldn't believe it. We had a 50% increase from a total of, let's see if I get our total calls last year, 2016, were 9,239. This past year, 2017, up to 14,000. 50% increase. So I got a hold of Jim and I said, okay, I know there's got to be something in the way we're counting our numbers, something different. So maybe the chief can explain it. But basically what it comes down to is because there was an overall 12% reduction in the budget, we see a slight increase in what we're going to be paying. But it's not going to be nearly what it could have been.
Absolutely.
Jim told me that was the way to present this. So.
It could be worse. Council.
He's the root of the problem.
Yes. It's a good problem. What's going on is we switch report writing systems, and the report writing system that we went on is with the county, Emmett, the city of Marshall, city of Battle Creek, and the tribe. So most of the county is on this report writing system, sharing information and moving forward. One of the nice things about this is we document all that we do now. We used to do building checks. We used to make contacts with people on the streets. None of that was ever documented before other than on a piece of paper that the officers wrote down. Now every time we make a contact or check a building or open doors or alarms, they're not reported by dispatch as a dispatch, but they're reported to dispatch and take a dispatch number, so we are accounted for. So although it looks like a 50% increase in activity, it's really documenting what we do on an everyday basis more accurately. That also protects us liability-wise, because now we know and we can track what we're doing and how we are responding to calls and those kind of things in this litigation society that we live in. So although we did see a 12% decrease overall through the CCCDA, what we did is a slight increase, taking those two together. The old report writing system, we were at about $1,200 a month times 12 is, I don't know,
It's about 144.
or $1,200 a month. Yes, $14,000 approximately. Yeah, $14,000. So currently we're only paying about $5,000 a year for this program. So significant savings to the city. Calls went up, but the reason the calls went up is because of the way we are documenting our calls. So, and we did have a little uptick in activity as well, but not 50%.
Just
Thank
to give you
goodness.
a scope too, I mean, we don't have that many officers. We have how many total sworn, Jim? 12?
We have 14, including me,
14 sworn.
myself.
Yeah. The law enforcement calls were 12,043. That's a lot of calls for that number of guys to handle. The fire calls were 870, and EMS runs were 1,101. And that pulls out the ones that are all transfers out of Oaklawn.
And that still does not include our traffic stops.
Right, right.
So you have that activity on top of that.
These guys are doing a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things, like you mentioned earlier, Mayor, there's a lot of things going on here in our safe little town.
And by doing that, bad guys and girls don't like to be recognized. So when you're making these contacts, they don't want to come into town. Those that are out and about and you know, a good litmus test in my world is looking at 10 o'clock at night, winter, summer, anytime, and they're walking through downtown holding hands and not looking over their shoulders is a good day because they're enjoying our community. And we do have a very safe community, and it's because of the hard work. And community also is involved with us by giving these tips and giving us the direction and things that are happening in their neighborhood so we can address those at the right time. So, that being said, thank you, sir.
Anything else?
Nope, that's all.
Okay, Councilmember Karen.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Nothing, thank you.
Just want you to be prepared in 2 weeks for your meeting. We will have a work session at 6 o'clock, and we will probably also do a closed session after the meeting. So it won't be 40 minutes or 45 minutes. So just prepared to stay a little bit longer, come a little early and stay a little longer. So plus there's a couple things on the agenda that will probably take a little time in your discussion.
So that'll be March 19th.
Yes. That's all.
Nothing from me.
Michael.
Nothing for me.
Well, the one exciting thing that we had going on in our community this last week that was once again very well attended was our second annual Economic Outlook. I think it went very, very well. We had 92 people that showed up, which was mirrored the number that we had last year, so it was nice to see that it was supported by the community again, and all the comments that I received were very, very positive. This year we took 5 speakers from companies that have a big economic impact on our community or are about to. Some of those would be bringing their businesses into our community in 2018. So it was very, very exciting. We purposefully left question and answer time at the end, and I'm glad we did because we filled all 15 or 20 minutes of that time with great questions from the community. And so I just think overall that it's another way for us to be transparent about what we're doing in this community. It's exciting to hear these future business owners coming to our community, and just the fact that our community was interested enough to come and listen to what they're planning to do in the next 1 to 3 years with their businesses was very, very exciting. And so the feedback was great. I would imagine we'll continue to do that year after year. I noticed that a lot of the other communities around us are now doing the same thing. Battle Creek, of course, has one for Calhoun County, but I think Albion and Homer both had them this last week. So I think it's just a great way to get out there in front of the community and let them know what's going on here, because we have a lot of great things happening in Marshall. So just wanted to report back on that, and that's it. Then we'll adjourn.